Alright, so this is simply Yugioh, Pro Flying Qliphort for you guys. The new deck got a new challengers. And he wants to know the story behind it. The story behind the archetype is that the Qliphorts lived under the Naturia sacred tree, and basically after after Sophia, the goddess of rebirth, after she tries to come back and reset the earth or whatever, they're supposed to reactivate and make sure everything reactivates the right way. But because of Kirkyan and Sombre, that didn't happen. So they were still under the sacred tree for a while until Shidali Bristol was killed, and the orbs that were in his arms powered the Qliphorts, and now the Shidals basically were stupid, attacked the sacred tree, and they unleashed the Qliphorts, and the Qliphorts are now massacring the Shidals and just wandering the dual terminal world, trying to reset everything the right way.
Are they evil or are they good?
They're kind of neutral, honestly. They basically, I mean, the story goes that they're named after demons. But they're only attacking the Shidals, really. So they're kind of neutral because they're just meant to reset the earth. They're not really a side, kind of. I like to consider them the good guys, but I'm not sure on that yet. Do you want to get into the deck now?
Sure.
So 3 Scout. This is the best card. This is one of your best cards in the deck. You basically pay 800 to grab any Qli monster, Qli card, so you can grab a spell or a trap and add it to your hand. He's also Pendulum Scale 9. So that really comes into play when you use your pendulum summon a lot. Then 3 Carriers is one of the best monsters that you're going to summon. All of them have the ability that you can summon them without tributing, but their attack becomes 18 and their level becomes 4. And then this one has an effect when it's tributed that you get to return a monster on the field to the hand, and while it's in the pendulum zone, all monsters you control gain 300 attack, which is really, really good for the OTK. And it's a scale 1, so you can pendulum summon a lot easier. And I play 3 Helix. I know most people like 2 of this card, but I really like 3. It's another monster you can normal summon, and when it's tributed, you pop a spell or trap. And it's really a good disc target. And it also, when it's in the zone, it doesn't come into play that often, but I lost a game because of it. All monsters your opponent controls lose 300 attack. It doesn't come into play too often, but it does sometimes. Then I only play 2 Disc. Disc is also a scale 1. He's basically the same card as Archive, but you only really need 2 because you want to search just with Scout. You never want to really draw it. I also play 2 Shell because he's another OTK card. He basically, when he's tribute summoned, he can attack twice and pierce, which is pretty strong against certain decks. And Scout, when he's tribute summoned, he's a rescue rabbit, which is really, really, really strong. It helps the OTK. It just helps the OTK really well because you can OTK turn 2. Then I play 1 Odd Eyes and 2 Trampolinks. 3 Trampolinks is way too dead. And then more than 1 Odd Eyes is a little slow because Odd Eyes is a really slow card for the deck, and you only really need your 1 anyway because the deck gets to Scout and fast enough. And Trampolinks is just one of the best tech cards because you pendulum summon, then you can bounce Tool and activate Tool again and get another search, which is really, really good. And that's it for the monsters I play. I play 16 monsters. It's really all you need because Scout is instant access to anything. Then this is by far the best card of the deck, Sacrifice. You equipped it, it's an equipped card, and you equipped it to a Qliphort. It gains 300 attack, can't be destroyed by battle, counts as 2 tributes for a Qliphort, and when it's sent to the grave, you get to search for any Qli monster, which makes it the best card. It's how you unbrick, and it's how you OTK by turn 2. It's really a strong card. Every effect is good except for the 300 attack, because most of the time your opponent's going to rag to 0 you. Then I play 1 Laser Clip. I'm thinking of taking this card out. What it does is it gives you an extra normal summon of a Qli every turn, and Qli normal summons cannot be negated. But I kind of don't like it sometimes, and I might cut that. Of course, 3 summoners aren't. It's basically Rhoda for the deck, because what you do is you grab Scout, and then Scout grabs you whatever you want.
Stop joking around. I need 3.
And 2 Chalice, because what you do is you normal summon a Qli, and even though it drops to 1800, you just Chalice it. It goes back up to its original attack, and it gains 400. So it's a 28 normal summonable body if you have Chalice. So Chalice helps you with the OTK too. Hey Josh, can you hand my receipt to Will? 2 Duality, because the deck bricks a lot, and Duality helps you to unbrick with the deck. I'm honestly thinking of cutting a few cards to fit in Upstart Goblins, because the deck does definitely brick a lot. And
So you would take this out?
I would probably take that out, yeah. It's not that good as I thought it was. I mean, it helps you OTK sometimes, but it's not necessary. Then 2 MST. I'm definitely thinking of bumping it to 3 because of the mirror. And this deck does, when you play against VA, it's really good sometimes to just blind space them if they only have 1 or 2 back rows, because Fire Lake is really hard for your deck to deal with. And every time against Burning Abyss, you want to go first because you don't want to get Fire Laked or Wind Blasted on your tool. This deck really just wants to go first. And limiter removal, I'm definitely thinking of cutting this card. It hasn't really come in that much handy for me. The deck can OTK fine without it, which is why I'm thinking of cutting it, and it's really sometimes just not that good, because you have to lose your whole field. And that's it for spells. For traps, I play 1 Climate Change. It's like a Pot of Avarice. You can search it off Scout, which is really good. Basically, you add 3 Qli monsters from your extra deck back to your hand, which can be really good in the late game. That's why I'm only playing 1 of it right now. It's still in testing. It hasn't done that much, but I like it.
Did you draw anything from it?
I haven't drawn it yet, honestly.
No, do you get to draw? Or no,
no, you don't get to draw. You just add 3 back to your hand. Skill Drain.
Okay.
Skill Drain is it helps your deck a lot. And it helps you basically get a really good grind game, and it just shuts down a lot of decks. Like Shadows have a hard time against this. I basically had an archive, and against a Shadow player, I flipped up Skill Drain, and he just scooped right there. He couldn't do anything with Skill Drain, and then Archive just bounces their Shadow Fusion, so they can't. Shadows can't really do much against the deck. I play 3 Trap Stun. I like 3 because I just really like this card. Being able to shut down all their traps for 1 turn is just really, really good. Especially against Burning Abyss. You just want to shut down the Fire Lake and their Wing Blast and then OTK. It's just really needed for the deck. Some people cut Skill Drain and Trap Stun down to 2. I have thought about that because I do brick sometimes and draw multiple Skill Drains. The deck has its brick hands. I played 2 Emptiness, possibly getting cut it because it's not that good in the mirror match. Because all the summons this deck does are inherent. Pendulum Summoning is inherent, which makes this card really bad. But it is really good for the deck because all your monsters, when they die, will go to the extra deck, not the graveyard. So this card will stay up for a while, especially with Sacrifice. Your monsters are going to be staying on board, and this card's going to be staying on for a long time. I was watching the feature match of Patrick Hoban versus I forget who it was, but this card basically won him a game. He had a disc with a Sacrifice and this, and that basically just won him the entire game because you can't play around that sometimes. And I just play Compulse as my last card. I didn't want to play Warning in the deck because I felt like with the skill drains and the tools, you'd be paying too much life points to use Warning. But Compulse, in my opinion, is probably one of the best trap cards right now. And that's it for the main deck. I play 40 cards in the main deck, obviously just for consistency. For the extra deck, it's like Batteryman. The extra deck doesn't really matter. But there are certain things like Alcay that are really good. Draco Sack, M7, Volcasaurus. These never come out, but it's just good to have them. Like that's the same thing with Utopia Ray and Utopia. They'll never come out. Canna Gorgion, double Ragna 0 because she's really good in the mirror match. Arc, Castell, Exciton, Dweller, Cowboy, and Rhapsody. These are just really good rank 4s. They almost never come out. The only time they ever come out is if you have a Tramp Lynx in your Pendulum Zone. And even then, it's better to keep your Qliphorts on board for tribute fodder. Because if you detach a Pendulum as an Exceed material, it'll go to the graveyard and not your extra deck, which really sucks. The extra deck is really nothing. For the side deck, I'm still testing it a lot. It's really under testing. I wanted to try something, so I play 2 Ryza, a Mobius, and then 3 Stormforth. The Monarchs were originally predicted that Monarchs would be in the main deck of this deck, like Kuras, Caius, and Ryzas. So the Monarchs already fit in really well with the deck because of our Helix and Arcot and Carrier. But I just wanted to try them out in the side deck and see how they did. Then 2 Night Beam, you gotta hit like MSTs and stuff. Like, the deck basically needs to hit your opponent's back row to get rid of Fairy Winds and MSTs.
Oh, forgot I Fairy Wind at my house. I have to get them.
Then
That's right.
2 Shadow Imps for your BA and Shadow matchup. It's just really good. 2 Chain Disappearance. This is for the Burning Abyss matchup. Burning Abyss is your worst matchup by far for this deck.
So what was a good matchup?
Your good matchup is Shadows. You have a really good Shadow matchup. You just basically OTK them before they can do anything. And Archive is also really, really, really strong against them.
What about? Go ahead.
And plus, keeping Disc, like Disc with
put me to work in my
sacrifice,
school
it's almost impossible for them to get around. Because this is unaffected by anything rank 6 or lower, or level 6 or lower. So Disc is really good against them. Like just normal summoning it, and it's a big body, is just really good against Shadows. And if they try to Moral Talk it, it's unaffected because it's Moral Talk's only level 5. I play 1 Mirror Force. This is for the mirror match. Mirror Force is really good in the mirror match because when they put all their stuff on the field, you just Mirror Force and all their stuff goes to the extra deck.
No one at Locals has his deck.
And you can basically just win next turn by summoning all your guys.
This is a side deck.
And
wait,
then
is he main rivalry? Oh, this is a side deck. I thought it was a main deck. It was like the worst choice ever.
I played 2 Rivalry of Warlords. This is really good in your deck because you never put anything that's not a machine on board. Every single monster except these 3 is a machine, and you never summon these 3. You actually can't because the Qliphorts all have an effect that cannot be negated. That you can only special summon Qli monsters while they're in the Pendulum Zone, which it doesn't really hurt you that much in 6 situations, but it can be good against VA to stop them from going into their extra deck, and it can be good against a lot of rogue decks too, which is really good. And that's pretty much it for the deck.
Anything else you'd like to say?
I really like the deck.
I know.
It's a fun deck. I mean, I love.
I want you to have my baby.
Oh yeah.